The list of prominent Republicans saying they cannot vote for Donald Trump continues to grow. The newest member, Virginia Congressman Scott Riggle, who says he's going to be voting Libertarian instead. He follows Meg Whitman, who has now thrown her support behind Hillary Clinton. Joining us now for some analysis, Matt Mackowiak, Republican strategist, former communications director for Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson. Matt, nice to see you.
Hey, Leland, good to be with you. Thanks so much.
You know, you think about these endorsements, and we in the press love to talk about it, love to talk about will Trump endorse Paul Ryan, won't he? What about John McCain? What about Kelly Ayotte? And yet we saw in the primaries that for some reason this cycle, endorsements mean absolutely nothing. So when you think about the situation here about these congressmen saying they're not going to vote for Trump, does it even matter?
Yeah, I think there's two things to look at in that regard. I think, first of all, it's important to remember the primary is a subset of the general electorate. You had 30 million people vote in the primary. Donald Trump got 13 million of those votes. He had a high floor and a low ceiling. He got the benefit of the high floor. He never paid the price of having a low ceiling. As it relates to the general election, look, Trump is not winning enough conservative and Republican votes at this point. He's getting less than 80% of Republicans when generally you need 92, 93, 94% of Republicans. And even self-described conservatives, he's getting 64% compared to Romney getting 82% 4 years ago. So I don't think these names are going to impact the way voters perceive these candidates. But I think it is illustrative of the fact that Trump has not fully unified the Republican Party. He needs to let Hillary Clinton do that, and if he can get himself out of the news and stop making controversial statements for a few days, Hillary may do that work for him.
A few things to push back on that, though. You think about the idea that Trump, as you said, isn't doing as well with very strong conservatives. On the same time, his folks will tell you, look, we're doing much better with Reagan Democrats, blue-collar Democrats, places like Pennsylvania, places like eastern Ohio, in West Virginia, and those kinds of places. And these are different voters who are going to turn out for Trump who've never voted Republican before.
Yeah, and I think that's the potential that Trump has, but he has to unify the party first. You work from your base outward, not from the middle back inward. That doesn't really work. Look,
well, so Trump says the Republican Party is unified behind him. Is he wrong?
Well, I mean, if you just look, deep inside the polling so far, we're not seeing that. We're just simply not seeing that. But look, I think the path to victory for Trump is through the Midwest. There's no question. Those states that do have a disproportionately high percentage of white voters. Trump is doing very well with white men. He's not doing very well with white women. And ultimately, that is where he's going to have to find the votes in order to make Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, those states that he can win, so he has a path to 270 electoral votes.
Typically at a time like this, August, we're already past the conventions. Almost every Republican strategist in one way or another would be working for the Republican presidential campaign. They'd be a state director, they'd be a state comms director, they'd be running a get out the vote campaign, those kinds of things. Is it just me, or is Trump's very, very small campaign, which he argues is a lot leaner and better operation, leaves a lot of folks like you to be on the sidelines chirping rather than getting behind the campaign and towing the party line, as it were?
Yeah, Leland, I would start by saying there are a lot of professional Republican operatives that simply don't want to work on the Trump campaign. But you're right. He has 70 or 80 staff at his headquarters. Hillary has 10 times that. And so he's testing the question of whether you can run a national campaign with essentially a bare-bones operation. I have real concerns about that. Look, if you're not doing data, you're not doing research.
People would argue that you have a vested interest in having real concerns over that.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I wouldn't work for Trump if he offered me a job anyway. But again, my concern is that you have to have a big enough campaign that you have a surrogate department, a fully staffed communications team, that you're doing polling and data and research. I don't know that they're doing all that. And so I think they could be running a better campaign. August is a crucial month for them to get back on solid ground so they have a chance to start making the race competitive in September when the debates come around.
Well, when the debates come around, and also big questions in terms of how much debate prep Donald Trump is going to be doing and the like. Matt, appreciate you being with us from down in Austin. All the best, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.